Today's guests, Bomet Governor and Chair of the Council of Governors, Isaac Ruto, and the Chairman of the Constitution Implementation Commission, Charles Cheche. Much of our discussion before the break centered on the summit yesterday at State House and what was agreed. We've talked about that. Can we just be clear then that you will not be suing over the enhanced or whatever you want, the executive order, delegating national functions to the county commissioners?
No, we will not.
You'll not be suing. And so the Constitution asks for, requires 2 summits a year.
Yes.
Which summit took place yesterday? Was that the first of the year, the second of the year? Where are we?
Well, depending on whichever way you look at it. If it's the financial year, it is the first meeting. If it is the calendar year, it's the first meeting. So we've already had one.
Okay.
Is it scheduled, particular time, or is it just
we've now agreed on specific days or months in which we must have the summit meeting. But that does not preclude us having other meetings in between. And we noted yesterday that when we meet, we clear up a lot of issues that tend to create misunderstanding.
So which is the point you were making, Mr. Nyachae, that a lot of what we see as supremacy wars are actually misunderstandings which would be cleared up if there was a lot more communication between the national and county governments. So what else was addressed at the meeting yesterday? I'll ask Mr. Nyachae because I think he's more of a neutral observer than you might be.
Right.
You have a vested interest in this. What else was discussed?
Well, they discussed a number of things, including, I think there are issues that are outstanding regarding the transfer of functions. For example, the issue of roads still continues to be
confusion over that.
Some confusion over that. They discussed the issue of the health sector, and in particular there was some fairly passionate discussion about the level 5 hospitals and how they are going to be.
So on roads, an audit was agreed within the next 2 weeks to see which roads fall under whose authority. What happened with the on health?
On health, I think there seemed, in my view, there seemed to be an inconclusive discussion because the issue was revolving around the fact that unless, according to the governors, this position seems to be that unless the national government is able to factor in as part of the budgeting the specific requirements of those level 5 hospitals, and as I understood it, treated them as special cases because level 5 hospitals go beyond the county, serve beyond the county boundaries. Several governors who have those hospitals in their counties seemed to be of the view that they will close down those hospitals because they will not be able to finance them. So I don't know, maybe the governor understood it differently, but to me it seemed a serious issue that requires a solution, but it seemed a little inconclusive. But at the end of the day, it's a budgetary issue.
Yes. Yeah, it is indeed a budgetary issue. Remember, this has happened because of the consistent allocation of resources below what is properly costed by the CRA. The CRA talks of 279, and if you give 279 and you apply the formula, we can sort out the provincial hospitals. But when you unilaterally reduce the figures all the way to 226, then you must provide a conditional grant, conditional and conditional grant to support the counties that actually have level 5. The Constitution does not envisage a situation in which by simply implementing the Constitution, a certain county is disadvantaged. Notwithstanding the fact that there are feelings all over the place that there have been skewed allocation of resources over the years. But that doesn't mean that this Constitution expected that if certain services were available, for example, in Bomet, and because of the new Constitution and the application of the formula, that service will then suffer. That is not allowed. Under 202, Article 202, there are clear provisions in which the national government may give that conditional granting. And we actually impressed on the need for the national government to understand that there is need for conditional support to those level 5 facilities because they are much bigger. For example, one has 200 doctors, 900 nurses, and the PE on its own is over $1 billion shillings.
So to
and
be,
you are giving a county probably 3 billion.
So to be clear, that's how you concluded that discussion, that you're
Yes.
asking for grants.
For grants.
To support
the level 5 facilities.
But there was no sort
No
of confirmation. There was no agreement on it.
There was no
I think
confirmation
that's the
that
point,
it will be done.
Yeah.
But indeed,
or that it will be considered.
no, but the president
be
indeed
considered.
also noted that it was a concern which the national government has also noticed, even as they proceeded on. The CRA also confirmed that they had not noted that, and that is why they had requested for special funding for those hospitals. This past year, they have been given 3.4 billion. Now, in the coming financial year, nothing is provided for. The CRA are saying they are of the view that the 3.4 continue being provided for the next 3 years as the rest of the counties level up, and that level 5 hospitals be also availed in the other counties. And if you avail level 5 in other counties, then you will disperse the clientele, and also including the doctors will have to move to other facilities as well. Then the PE will be spread across the counties. But right now, in some counties, it is too much, like in Nakuru, Nyeri, Mombasa,
Kiambu,
Kiambu,
yeah.
The Thika Hospital,
Yeah.
and even Kisumu. And in fact, there are certain hospitals that are also bigger than level 4, like the one in Kitale, and I think Bungoma and Kericho.
How about the roads? Are you suggesting as governors that the Rural Roads Authority be scrapped, and then the maintenance of those roads be given to the counties?
We are not talking about scrapping anything. What we are simply
What are you
saying
saying?
is that
Yeah.
the Constitution provides that there are only 2 types of roads. County roads, and that is not in doubt, and national trunk roads. National trunk roads. So what we have been grappling for a whole year is how to define what a national trunk road is. We are saying even in pure English, it is clear what a national trunk road is, what a county road is. A road that starts and ends in a county can never be a national road. So we are simply saying that give us the power then to do those roads, and give us the fuel levy. Remember, when these roads are not done, the governor is on fire from the public.
Why can't the
They
road
are
be done by
planting-
the Rural Roads Authority?
They are planting bananas on it.
Why
but
can't the
The question you're asking is why have we devolved? You know,
No, but-
the question you're asking simply means why is there devolution?
it looks like, you
There
know-
is devolution because national government has not been able to perform those functions over 50 years. And that is a long debate. If you ask me why the Rural Roads Authority is unable to do it, it is very obvious. They are simply unable to do it. We don't know why. And I don't think it is possible for me to give you the reasons now. That's why I would rather say I don't know why they are unable.
Okay.
If I give you that, it will be conjecture,
Speculation.
Right.
speculation,
Let's
and
hear from our
imputing
viewers.
improper motives.
Right.
on
Let's hear from
others.
our viewers. Is Governor Ruto aware that even in the past, before the new constitution, the DCs were chairing the security in the district, but not to command police? So it's the same way the county commissioners will do. That came from Stanley in Kirinyaga. Good morning, Cheche. Can Mr. Nyachai admit or deny that there will be serious conflict between the 2 levels of government up to village level? How will the ward administrator and the chief operate within their areas? Is this not duplication of roles when central government is complaining about an unsustainable wage bill? That came from Wambua in Nairobi. So there's a question for you. And then give Bwana Nyachai more time to explain constitutional issues. Ruto is just being political. How, as a council chair, do you react on TV news on a sensitive matter like that? What does he say about governors buying an office complex in Nairobi? That came from Dr. Jimmy in Machakos. And we'll start with you and then work our way back to you in terms of duplication of roles. You're accused of being political, overreacting, jumping the gun, but also queries about the council buying an office complex in Nairobi.
We have not bought an office complex, but we are hiring space. I think the people who are talking about that are not aware of the Intergovernmental Relations Act that sets up the Council of Governors being the 47 governors of the Republic of Kenya, and also the fact that there are provisions under Section 20 of the Intergovernmental Relations Act in which counties are expected to do a lot amongst themselves in terms of sharing best practice, including resolving certain issues, dealing with cross-county matters. And you not do cross-county matters by taking a journey to Mandera. you have got to discuss.
In an essential meeting.
It's an essential meeting place. And what we've been asking for, initially the government had given us Joko House. Later on it was given to the police. We went to another building along Moy Avenue, but it was impossible even to get parking, and neither is there enough space. So we have simply hired space in Westlands, in which we pay rent. We have also discussed in the summit the possibilities of national government giving us one of the government buildings. Remember, these are practices all over the world. If you go to America, you go to Washington, you'll find the Council of Governors having a building in which they meet and share practices. There are liaison officers. There are things we must do with national government. There is no way you are going to sit in the county and say you have your bit. We must continue to consult continuously the provisions of Article 6 and 189.
David, are you satisfied by this explanation? Because
taking to hiring is where the issue is.
But
you said that the national government had been requested to provide a building.
Yes, they've not been able to do so.
Within time, a request made, and what feedback?
In fact, the Constitution, the law expected that we would, by the time we are sworn in,
yes,
all these provisions will have been done. That is the law under Intergovernmental Relations Act. In fact, they are even expected to have budgeted for our operations under Section 37 of the same Act. But nothing of the sort has happened. But we are there in the process of budgeting for the next financial year. So, but we have agreed yesterday, generally by consensus, that let the national government provide what it can. We can also top up where we find there is a shortfall. But the law has to be implemented. We must continue to consult. But unless we consult.
The commercial factors I'm raising, for how long is the building hired, and is it sustainable as opposed to taking up a building and buying and or acquiring for that purpose?
Right. Those are the issues that will be on the cards, and that is part of the discussions that we had, and we are going to continue to discuss on that possibility, including building, including...
But the space has already been hired. That's what I'm asking.
Yes, we've hired, but if
for
you
20 years, 15 years,
no,
5
no,
years?
no. There is no such thing like
how long is the
years.
lease?
I don't have the immediate details as to the length, but I know we are paying rent, and if we give them notice of 3 months that we are leaving, there will be nothing wrong with us leaving. We are simply negotiating.
Most leases
with the
are
national
fixed
for
a period of 6 years.
Commercial leases
They're fixed. You can't get out of them easily. That's why I'm asking that particular one. If these are interim measures you've taken,
these are interim
because
measures.
You need offices, but then you might be stuck there even if you get alternatives in the next financial year to buy a building.
No, we are simply taking that as an interim measure, and we raised at the summit yesterday that there is need for an identification of some office space.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if I can just chip in on that, you know, this is a classic example where, Governor, the devil is in the detail. I think, wearing now just the heart of an ordinary Kenyan, I think what people are concerned about is, I don't think anybody is saying that you shouldn't have liaison offices in Nairobi.
Yeah.
I think what people are concerned about is where you are going to have essentially almost a replication 47 times of the offices that you have in the counties. No. So it's a question of where the reasonable balance is. Yes. I mean, and that is why I think in yesterday's meeting, the president was talking about, okay, you know, you have a liaison office, you know, yes, with meeting facilities and so on, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have you know, offices which seem to assume that the governors will be working full time in the offices.
Yeah, that is it.
That I think is where.
Yeah, that is it.
Right.
We will not. We will balance that with the fact that if governors are here, for example, for 2 days, they don't just go sitting in the hotel doing their work. It will be impossible.
They have a place to work.
They must work, and they must continue to consult. Remember, we are also having other support partners, where we need to continue even meeting and designing projects for the counties. Okay. And we will also leave officers to continue pushing certain things which are just come and start and ask them to progress. And unless that is progress, then there will be no benefit at the county. Right.
Yeah. Mr. Nechai, there was a question for you from Wambua, who was wondering about duplication of roles.
Yeah. Actually, there should be no duplication of roles whatsoever. If we start off with the
and of course, this relates to our earlier discussion about the county commissioners.
Yes. If we start off with the constitutional imperative of having 2 levels of government, and it's not just 2 levels of government, 2 levels of government with well-defined functions that are set out under the 4th schedule. Now, also the constitutional requirement that this service delivery must be all the way down to the lowest levels, meaning that there are services which even the national government is expected to provide for wananchi right to the lowest level. There are services which the county government is expected to provide right down to the lowest level. So it's really a question of each level of government ensuring that it is within the mandate of its functions all the way down. Now, Article 6 of the Constitution, which is the one that requires consultation and cooperation, will mean that at every level, at every stage in that structure, the two levels of government will be consulting to, and consulting, in my view, will ensure two things. One, that there is no overlap, but two, that there is no gap. Because you could also have a scenario where the way the two levels of government have defined their roles, then there's a gap of delivery of service.
The issue was raised of the role of the ward administrator and the chief.
Yeah.
Do they have distinct functions?
Yes, they do. They do.
The ward is the division, actually. You should be talking about the overlap between the ward administrator and the DO.
The DO, yeah.
And then if you go below that, we've got those that are heading locations also who are equivalent to the chief. We have an equivalent of the assistant chief, and we have got villagers. Village councils. And you see, the constitution actually gives that function to the counties under the paragraph 14.
Which function?
Yeah, for example, the participation of communities in governance. That is 14 of the fourth schedule, an assignment to county governments. Would you like me to read it?
No, but are you saying, Governor, that the national government has no service to deliver right?
No, they do.
Yeah.
They have got a service. For example, let me tell you the service they have at the location.
Yes.
Registration of persons.
Yes.
That means as soon as a baby is born, the chief should rush with the birth certificate and issue. And education. But the education is managed by teachers essentially and the others. Do you need a whole officer to run around with the birth certificates?
No, you are addressing a different.
If you take all of them, all those functions together, they trickle from the national level.
But
even
at the ward level, give us the functions of the DO. You remember they used to coordinate development. Development at that lower level is essentially county functions, all the way down. In fact, the work that has remained is so thin. The debate that we had in the last parliament was whether we could not get these things collapsed into one under the provision of cooperation between the two levels of government. That an officer can be concurrent, can do concurrent function. In fact,
but the law allows you to do that.
Yes, that has been our debate.
But even today, the law...
Must we have an entirely parallel system all the way down, where we duplicate offices?
No, there's no duplication.
Double.
There's no duplication. If we accept, Governor, the principle of distinct governments and the different functions.
Okay, fine. The distinct government, let us have officers all the way down. Let us pay the double wage. No problem.
It's not double wage.
Let's pay.
But it's not double wage.
But we talk about the wage bill here, and at the same time, there are certain functions that we can.
You made the problem. The wage bill, which is what the opposition is saying.
The problem with this, when you start talking about the wage bill, is it becomes like the elephant where, and the blind people, where everybody has a different feel. There are people who feel that that the whole concept of devolution is what has brought the wage bill. And we keep telling them, no, it is not devolution. So when you start talking about the wage bill, you need to be very careful.
Exactly. In fact, Charles, I would say, because this one has got 40 functions, this one has 14 functions, the one who has fewer functions should be dissolved and joined in the one who has more functions.
So if
we went that way,
I can understand where you come from. I can quickly understand where you come from.
If we were to rationalize
simply a centrist who is in the comfort of the city. You have been brought up in the comfort of the city.
No,
you have no idea what's happening in the villages.
I'm trying to rationalize because when governors speak, they speak in their defense of their labor, of their staff. They don't speak in rational terms of what functions are performed by the other side that we are not dealing with, which need to be performed.
So,
for example,
tell me the function beyond registration of persons.
For example, David,
I mean, the security function still percolates
security is a police function, my friend.
Yes, coordination. Let me take it for example. Let me take this as a practical example. The government policy is that there should be no tuition, or what is called, those after-school tuition.
So
those
the chief is the one to ensure.
Those things go on.
Just a minute, you've spoken. Let's ask you a
The
question.
officers who are supposed to enforce this are the DEOs and everybody down to the school
DEO,
principal.
yes.
You will find that those things are not being executed.
Yes.
Tuition is still going on despite the government policy.
Yes.
Where does a parent go to report? You go to the principal, you say, no, my children can't come to school, I can't pay this extra fee. Nothing happens.
Yeah.
Where should the parent go? The parent goes to the chief or goes to the DO to say, look, these people are not helping me. The DO intervenes. And that's why the coordinating function of the multiple functions coordination are basically to ensure government policy is being implemented by those
the
who don't
DO
even
refuses
enforce it.
to work. The DO will work.
So the DC will convene a meeting and say, look, we need this enforced.
That is okay. What we are simply saying is there is further debate and there is need for public participation.
Actually,
and I think we are in agreement with Nyachai that there should be public participation in the discussion of the layout of those two organs.
Organs, yes.
Yes.
What my view, Charles,
the debate
is that what we are trying here, we are fighting an impossible situation. Everyone is trying to elbow for room. The county governments want room, the national government wants room to execute. The problem lies in legal, it's a deficiency in law, which is what we need to address. How we can harmonize these functions legally, because as it is, they're separate.
But you know, Governor, what the Council of Governors and the devolved governments generally must be careful is that you don't spend too much energy, trying to fend off the role of the national government at the counties.
Yes.
Instead, because they have a constitutional role. I think you should be spending your energies on how do you ensure that you consult and cooperate, so that there are no gaps, so that there are no overlaps, and so that Mwananchi receives the services, because that's what government is about.
Where are you getting this idea that we are busy fending off a national government function? You are just asking me a question on what is rational.
No, I'm
what
saying...
What is rational to do? Do you need two officers to do a similar job? Or are there other jobs that we can cooperate? And I think the Constitution provides that we can cooperate. In fact, remember, even us as governors on immunization, it is a function that is devolved. But we immediately said no. Immunization is a matter that can best be handled by the national government. And in fact, from the word go last year, we told them, sort out immunization. I'll provide the people to do whatever you want me to do. But can you procure the immunization drugs? Can you manage the entire system? Take, for example, even management of AIDS and such like other things. We have asked, there are certain things that the national government can do much better than us.
Yes.
And we immediately understand that, and we cede that responsibility back to them.
Okay, answer
there
this
are certain
question.
other things we can
Answer
help.
this question. My wife works in Bagathi Hospital in Nairobi County. I live in Tana River, and we're told she can't transfer unless she resigns and waits for Tana River to advertise. What is being done about the transfer of personnel across counties?
No, I don't know who told such a person that thing. We can transfer anywhere within the Republic of Kenya. That is an agreement between us and the national government. We are not going to in any way impede staff movements and growth in terms of professional.
You know, Udwak.
We don't.
The reason that particular citizen is asking that is because the governors, where the Constitution and the law provides for a 3-year transition period, they insisted on transferring these functions without even going through the motions of even the Wananchi understanding the process. That's why people have problems like that, because that's why we had a 3-year transition period. Lakini mukasema, we take this functions on immediately.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. But that lady won't know that.
Does not know.
She won't know it. Because
and civic education is part of Nyachai's job.
No.
Transition authority.
Okay,
by the way,
I must apologize.
By the way,
civic education is a
in fact, you are walking into a trap. If we look at the County Governments Act,
yes,
I think is it 89 or 98 in Ngoja?
Yes.
89 or 98.
Who's given the function to do what?
Okay. Civic education. If you look at Article 100, no, Section 100 of the County Governments Act, Each county shall implement an appropriate civic education program and establish a civic education unit in this regard. Well,
part of what I'm doing right now is civic education. The governor himself is now explaining.
It is not Nyachaye's job. It is a job.
But then how do you
Nyachaye is expected to implement the constitution and finish by next year, and he's telling me to wait.
No.
We'll come to
My
that.
job is to oversee.
Oversee.
Not to implement. You are
So
to implement.
you want me? You are overseeing and you are exiting next year.
Yes,
You want me to take another 3 years?
Hang on,
No.
hang on. There's a valid question there, because there are those who feel that you spend too much time in Nairobi fighting the governor's corner and not enough time in Bomet developing the county.
How often do you see me in Nairobi? I'm here maybe once or twice a week. I am in Bomet 5 days in a week. Really. You know, when I come here, everybody thinks I've been here the whole week.
Yes.
Maybe they feel my presence in
Now
Nairobi.
that you have mentioned it, Transition Authority.
But there is one Kenyan who has just asked, and it has to be understood clearly, that they are free to move wherever they want without resigning.
You've made
This
the
has to
point,
be
but
understood.
this is Patrick in Bomet. If what Governor Ruto wants is to go, then I propose that he be in Nairobi, then we elect another governor in Bomet. And there are a few people who said that.
So he should listen very carefully, right?
Yes.
Next we'll hear he has been impeached.
Let's proceed. That's a subject.
Let me ask Mr.
The
Nchai,
council is there,
Yes.
and it has to be led.
Right.
Anu
And
Iguru-
I'm in Nairobi no more than twice a week.
Right.
Anu Iguru was here a few weeks ago.
Yes.
And Kinuthi Wamangi was here the following week, I think.
Yeah.
And they seem to differ about the life of the Transition Authority. And when Iguru thinks the Transition Authority has finished its mandate, they have handed over everything, they should go. And the Wamangi thinks, no, they have 15 functions to perform, they have only done 2 or 3, they have to complete the years. What is the position?
Before I answer that, I want to ask the governor a question. Because this arose when I was in Elgeyo Marakwet last week on a county visit. And the issue arose about the functions that counties had applied for, which the Transition Authority declined to transfer, and the counties applied to the Senate, appealed to the Senate.
Yes.
So the issue arose when I was in Elgeyo Marakwet that the Senate has never acted on this matter.
Yes.
I called Senator Murkomen, who was somewhere in the Far East, and he was shocked because he told me, "Hiyo tulimaliza samani, and we transferred all functions."
Yes.
But when we spoke to the Transition Authority, they told us they have never heard from the summit. Now, I think that's where why I'm asking that is maybe that's what the CS is saying. If they have transferred all the functions, then the question arises is what is the remaining of their job to do?
Still haven't.
Yeah, the problem with the Transition Authority has been its prevarication and its inability to act, even when all the institutions are in agreement on the way forward. And they will prevaricate, maybe to postpone, to always have work to do. Like in the case where the Senate has done, and the law says the Senate is final. They are still telling us they are unbundling, they are thinking, they are doing what, they are meetings, and they are not doing anything. In fact, increasing the tension between the counties and the national government. Like what we were discussing, some of what we were discussing in the summit could have been done by the TA. But because of their failure to do it, that is the problem.
But if they didn't, Governor, if they didn't unbundle, which is what ought to have been done at the commencement, by the time that counties are appealing to the Senate, yeah, in accordance with the process set out in the County Governments Act, once the Senate makes a decision, that is binding on the authority.
That is binding
so
on the authority.
The question then that Mr. Mutegi is asking, and I think it's a legitimate question, why are then those functions, why have they not been transferred? And I hear him asking also, once they are transferred, yeah, what remains for the
there is one thing that is still remaining with for the TA to do.
Yeah.
They still have to deal with the regional bodies. And that is the only item, the only major item that is remaining on the agenda.
And they should deal with national assets.
Regional and assets. Regional bodies.
Assets have not been...
Assets have not been assigned or given to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Neither have we sorted out the question of debts. There are debts owing from the former county councils and such like. And who is supposed to pay those debts?
Okay, so we'll pick up that conversation on the Transitional Authority when we come back. We're running out of time. This is Cheche live on Citizen TV. We'll be back with today's guest, Bomet Governor and Chair of the Council of Governors, Isaac Ruto, and the Chairman of the Constitution Implementation Commission, Charles Nyachaye, after this break.